Hello, and welcome to my predictions video for AEW Revolution 2026, which takes place tonight. And I'm going to go through and try and predict all 13 matches, including the pre-show. And we'll see how I get on. Let me know your predictions in the comment section down below, and anything you agree with me on but have a different perspective on why, or you disagree with me, feel free to let me know why in the comments as well. Let's have a conversation. I'm going to start with the pre-show. I'm working from the Wikipedia list, so if there's any mistakes here, I apologise. My memory is not that good. I am fully up to date on AEW. I've just, before sitting down to record this, finished watching last night's Collision. But my memory just simply isn't that good, so if there's any mistakes that I don't catch, I apologise, but it's usually pretty reliable. We'll start with the Blackjack Battle Royal for the AEW National Championship. Now, some people have now been announced for that, including Ricochet, Tommaso Ciampa. I think all of the Bang Bang Gang have been announced. I can't remember exactly who. I think the safest prediction here is to predict Ricochet to retain. I think he's not been national champion that long yet. He's been doing some great work with The Demand, which is a rubbish name, by the way. But I think he's been doing some great work basically since he arrived in AEW and then promptly turned heel. So very entertaining, very obviously tremendous wrestler. I think the AEW National Championship reign of Ricochet is still young, so I'm going to predict Ricochet to retain there. Next, I'm predicting Willow Nightingale to retain the AEW TBS Championship against Lena Cross on the pre-show. Both of these women obviously working double duty, as they're both in the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship match later in the show. But yeah, I think Willow Nightingale probably retains her. Lena Cross has only just signed with the company, and while she is formidable, it's quite soon, and they've just had Tommaso Ciampa win a title in his very first match. They don't tend towards people winning titles super duper early in their runs, especially not singles titles, so I don't think Lena Cross wins this match. I think Willow's TBS Championship reign still has a lot of legs, and a lot of ground to revisit. I assume she'll hold on to the title until Mercedes Moné comes back and there's a rematch there, at the very least, right? So yeah, I'm going to say Willow Nightingale. And the final pre-show match is Boom and Doom, which is Big Boom AJ and QT Marshall, taking on the Infantry, which is Captain Sean Dean and Charlie Bravo of Shane Taylor Promotions. Shrug. Boom and Doom. Babyfaces win on the pre-show, right? I know I've just predicted Ricochet. It doesn't have to be a universal rule, but when you can't decide, you go with the babyfaces on a pre-show match, in my opinion. And also, Boom and Doom are just a feel-good act. It makes sense for them to just to win most of their matches. It's not like they're troubling any title scenes or anything, so... And the Infantry aren't in some sort of position where they simply can't afford to lose, or they lose all their momentum, So, yeah, Boom and Doom. Okay, now I'm going to drop to the bottom of the match list on Wikipedia and work my way up, simply because the next match listed on Wikipedia is MJF versus Hangman Adam Page, and while I don't know the order that most of these matches will go on in, I'm pretty sure AEW's already on TV confirmed that will be the main event of the show, so we're going to come to that last, so I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up to that now. Starting with the Tornado Trios match of Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong against the Dogs, which is also a rubbish name. I get it's a reference to the War Dogs. I understand it. It's rubbish. It's the Dogs. It's just rubbish. A lot of stable names in wrestling generally need a bit of work at the moment. Let's just say that. But yeah, the Dogs consist of David Finlay, Gabe Kidd, and Clark Connors, all formerly of the War Dogs in New Japan Pro Wrestling, in case you didn't know. So we've just had the big return of Roderick Strong to make the save, and it came out as if he was joining the Dogs and then turned on them. So they faked the turn on Orange Cassidy and then swerved it. As great as that was, that left the trio of Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong standing tall, which is bad for the go-home maths. But also, the David Finlay's quite a big debut. They made quite a big deal of him debuting. He's, and the dogs are being portrayed as quite a big threat. I could see them moving towards the trios titles reasonably quickly in their run in AEW, or maybe like the tag titles and a singles title, something like that. I could see them having gold pretty quickly. So I'm going to put the dogs to win. I think it just makes sense so soon after their quite impactful debut. Next, we're going to talk about the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship, which is the Babes of Wrath, Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale, against Megan Bayne and Lena Cross. I want the Babes of Wrath to win. I always want them to win. I'm a big fan. Big fan. However, I think Megan Bayne has challenged for these tag titles about 57 times now with different partners, and Lena Cross is the biggest, and I think there's a story to be told of like everyone trying to get the belts off these massive, powerful women as champions. So I think Megan Bayne and I also think Lena Cross coming in, supposedly being high impact. I've just predicted the dogs to win because they've only just got there. I think Lena Cross kind of needs this win because she's going to lose on the pre-show. And therefore I think maybe Megan Bayne and Lena Cross win here. I hope the Babes of Wrath don't sort of slowly drift apart because they've lost the tag titles. I hope they kind of stick together as a team, even though Willow's got a singles title to focus on. But I certainly hope we don't lose the prominence of Harley Cameron on our TV, because she is hella entertaining. Like, she is great in absolutely every way, including in ring. She has progressed insanely quickly in ring. Full credit to Harley Cameron. Massive fan. Anyway, I do, however, think that Megan Bayne and Lena Cross probably win the tag titles here. I feel like the Babes of Wrath have had a pretty decent run as the first tag team champions. You can never take that away from them. But I think there'll be quite a dominant, reasonably long reign for Megan Bayne and Lena Cross. And eventually some team that I honestly can't even think who it would be. It might be Jamie Hayter and Alex Windsor might be the ones to beat them eventually, to be honest. But I think someone will come up and beat them eventually, but it'll be a while. So yeah, Megan Bayne and Lena Cross. Next, everyone is banned from ringside. Timeless Toni Storm versus Marina Shafir. This one's really interesting because obviously Timeless Toni Storm's like 4-time Women's World Champion and like a massive deal, and obviously she stepped away from the world title picture for the time being. She did declare that when she was done with Marina, she would be back in the hunt for the Women's World Championship as part of the build to this, which, to be honest, I want to see her against Tekla, or her against Chris Statlander. More on that match later, but I just generally want to see Timeless Toni and Tekla have a prolonged program, please. But Marina Shafir's like really improved and is really well presented these days as part of the Death Riders and as her own thing as well. She's been doing a lot more on her own, the tag team tournament, teaming up with Megan Bayne because she wanted to fight and no one wanted to fight her was like the story, so she shoehorned herself in when Penelope Ford got injured. This one's really actually quite tricky. The fact that they've been going on about everyone's banned from ringside is designed to make you think Toni Storm has the advantage, right? Because Marina Shafir and the Death Riders quite often rely on each other to win matches, or they did before they sort of semi-turned face-ish. Some of them, maybe a couple of them, I don't know. It's a weird situation, but I like it. So I think just the fact that it's being built as a Toni Storm win incessantly makes me want to pick Marina Shafir as a swerve, but I find it really hard to think that Toni Storm just loses this match because she's like their perennial women's main eventer, right? As everyone else kind of cycles in and out, I know she's not been in the main event scene, but she still feels like a main eventer. She still gets a lot of promo time, even though she's just sort of before this feud, she was just sort of milling about in the tag team division, like not doing loads of real consequence, but she was still getting loads of promo time because she's great. Again, massive fan of both these women, actually. Like really impressed with how Marina Shafir has come along. Her character's fantastic. Timeless Toni Storm, like, you know, come on, can't say enough good things about her. I'm going to predict Marina Shafir, but I'm not confident in this one at all. Next, the Trios match for the AEW World Trios Championship. Okada, Fletcher, sorry. Well, it's difficult, this, isn't it? It's Okada, Fletcher, and Mark Davis. Is this Aussie Open and Okada? Or is this Proto-Okada and Mark Davis? Or is this Aussie Okada? I don't know. Anyway, they're defending against Mystico and Jet Speed. They've only just won the titles. Mystico's like a bit in and out. He's mostly a CMLL guy, let's be honest. He's not really that prominent in AEW. Like he hasn't even appeared, if I remember correctly, to build to this match. I think the Dan Callis family just retain her. I think this one's reasonably easy to predict. Next, the 2 out of 3 falls match for the AEW Women's World Championship. Tekla versus Chris Statlander. Tekla's just won the title from Chris Statlander, and I think she's doing great work. I think she's been really... She's a bit sort of cartoon villainy sometimes. She's a bit like, I'm evil, I'm toxic, mwahaha. But she's really good at it, like, and she's really charismatic. Great talker, great wrestler. I think she probably retains her. I think Chris Statlander had a good run with the title, but I think Tekla's got legs in her as champion. So I'm gonna predict Tekla to retain. I don't think this one's gonna take much thought. I think I'm quite happy with predicting Tekla there. Next, Brody King versus Swerve Strickland in a singles match. So this one, right, this is really interesting because Swerve Strickland came back and was like, my eyes are on the prize, I want the AEW World title back. Brody King, in that time, beat MJF in an eliminator match and then lost a world title shot. So it's unlikely that we're going to see Brody King challenge for the world title again immediately because there's other contenders milling about, right? I suppose there's an argument to be made that if Hangman wins the world title, then Brody King versus Hangman is a fresh matchup and could be interesting, for sure. But we're definitely not likely to see Brody King versus MJF again, because especially like world title programs without the title changing hands, AEW doesn't tend to do that many like instant rematches. Like if the title changes hands, they might then do a rematch, like a reverse where the other one's the champion coming in. But you don't tend to get like Guy A beats Guy B to defend the title, and then Guy A defends against Guy B again. You don't get that a lot in AEW. So I don't think we're going to see... So that reduces the odds of Brody King winning. I think Brody King is, like, elevated and not going to elevate again for a little while. He's going to stay in and around that world title scene, but just beneath. I'd love to see him get to the world title, don't get me wrong. But I think it's Swerve. I think Swerve's the one who needs to go up at the moment. So I'm gonna pick Swerve. He's just freshly turned heel. The heel turn needs to be justified by results, right? It needs to be like, yeah, it was worth doing. Look, I've become bad guy me again, and look at the payoff. Look at the results. I'm, closer to the world title now. I think that's the story that needs to be told. Next match, Andrade El Idolo versus Bandido. Andrade. There's 2 reasons for this. One, sort of similar to Swerve, is he's looking at being in the world title picture. Bandido just had a AEW world title shot again against MJF just before the Brody King one. So that's one reason. There's kind of 3 reasons, actually. 2, I think Bandido is just higher up the card than Bandido. Wait, did I say that right? What I meant to say is, I think Andrade is just higher up the card than Bandido. So I think he just wins. Frankly, I don't think this is where you do an upset. The 3rd reason I think Andrade wins is because they haven't put the ROH World Championship on the line. If Bandido was going to win, it might as well be a title match. I don't think there's any intention of Andrade being the Ring of Honor World Champion. So they've just simply ignored the fact that the Ring of Honor World Champion is in the match. and it's just a non-title match. He's in the graphic with the belt on his shoulder, but there's never been a mention of the title being put on the line, which is weird when you consider the MO of the Don Callis family has been like collect belts. So we want all the belts, we want all the money, we want all the power. Like, it's weird that they don't want that one. It just kind of buries Ring of Honor in a bit of a way that it's beneath the Don Callis family to even challenge for the title. But yeah, I think for all of those reasons, Andrade. I don't have a compelling argument why Bandido wins, except Bandido's great, but so's Andrade, so they cancel out. So yeah, Andrade to win. Next, this one's quite tricky. Jon Moxley defending the Continental Championship against Takeshita. Konosuke Takeshita's been, like, on a tear of late. Like, he went undefeated in the group stage of the C2. And has barely lost, like, in a long time. Like, he occasionally loses. Like, he lost, obviously, in the semi-final to the Screwdriver from Okada. But he's very, very well protected at the moment. Jon Moxley is obviously being quite compelling at the moment. Like, he's a really good character. He's one of my favourites at the moment, which, you know, a year ago, who'd have thunk it kind of thing. But Jon Moxley has never really felt to me in AEW like, and he's even expressed this as a character, but I think outside of kayfabe, it's never really mattered whether he wins and loses. He's a massive deal. He is kind of the ace of the company, regardless of wins and losses. And I think Takeshita wins here. I think Takeshita wins. Yeah, let's say Takeshita wins. It's tricky. It's tricky, right? Because Jon Moxley hasn't actually had that title for that long. It's only been a few months. Not really had that many title defenses. And he really suits the title because it's giving him an excuse to kind of be the babyface in the Death Riders when the rest of them are still tweeners or just outright heels. Because he can't have anyone interfere on his behalf in his Continental title matches. So it's like he's forced to go it alone. And he's loving it. He's reveling in it, right? But I do think Takeshita kind of needs to win here. More than Moxley does, anyway. Yeah, I'm going to go Takeshita. Let's go Takeshita. Next, FTR defending the AEW World Men's Tag Team Championship against the Young Bucks. I mean, you keep coming back around to FTR Young Bucks because you know what you're going to get, right? It's going to be a great match. It's going to be loads of fun. We've got heel FTR versus face Young Bucks, which I'm sure has been done before. We've probably done it both ways around a couple of times each. I think this is the match I have the least opinion on. I think it's quite tricky to predict. FTR are doing great work as heels. It's kind of getting a little bit samey for me. Like, there's not a lot of advancement of anything, is my one critique. It's just like, we bad guys, we bad guys, we bad guys. I'm wondering if FTR are going to hold on to these titles until Cope and Cage return, so that they can get one last run as tag team champions together. Like, that's one kind of thought floating around my mind why FTR might retain. But you can never really bet against the Young Bucks. Maybe Cope and Cage return tonight, to be honest. Maybe FTR win and retain and then try to do something dastardly to the Bucks and Cope and Cage make the save. Yeah, sure. You know what? Let's go with that. Let's go with FTR. This is a really heel-heavy show. I'm just realising that I'm predicting. I know we've not done the main event yet, but I've got a heel winning the Blackjack Battle Royal, 2 faces for the others, so that's more faces. But then I've got the Dogs winning. I've got Megan Bayne and Lena Cross winning. I've got Marina Shafir winning. I've got Don Callis family winning. I've got Tekla winning. I've got Swerve winning. I've got Andrade winning. I've got Takeshita, who's technically the heel in that feud, winning. And I've got FTR winning. I've only got 2 babyface wins so far, and they're all on the pre-show. They're both on the pre-show. No way these predictions are right. There's no way they just do all heels, right? Anyway, main event. Now, I think I have an unpopular opinion here. Because I agree that Hangman Page not being able to challenge for the AEW Championship again gives really interesting storyline and character potential for him. However, how did that work out for Cody? Like, did people rally behind Cody? And, like, I know it's apples and oranges a little bit, but, like, I just don't think 7 years into AEW, not even 7 years in, like, into them having weekly TV anyway. And like, what is Hangman Adam Page? I'm just looking this up now. He's 3 years younger than me, so he's 34, coming up on 35 in the middle of this year, I think. I think that's really young to be saying never again. And I know they can work around it. I know they can turn him heel and have him go back on his word and, oh, what a dastardly man, and blah, 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 blah. Right, so that's one reason. But the other reason that I've considered is if MJF retains here. Oh, the other reason why people think it's going to be MJF is because they think MJF's going to lose the title to Will Ospreay in London. And, like, reasonable. Like, that's a fair sort of fantasy booking to portray. What happens before then, is my question. Like, I suppose you can do Mox as a face going after MJF, moving back up to the world title picture for a feud. But what else is there? Like, there's no baby faces really being built up as men's world title contenders at the moment. And like, heel versus heel can be interesting. Look at the Death Riders versus Don Callis family story where they're both kind of heels. It can be compelling. It can be great. But they don't do it often. And they really don't do it often over a world title. So, because I've got Swerve winning and Andrade winning, I think they're the challengers for Hangman Adam Page to pass the time, as horrible as that sounds to them, until Will Ospreay. And, like, maybe Page could lose it back to MJF to lose it to Ospreay, or Andrade or Swerve could win it to lose it to Ospreay. But you can just do Hangman versus Ospreay as a rematch from last year when they were fighting to be the one to face Moxley, right? And this time Ospreay wins. They can do face versus face, and Ospreay will just have the crowd behind him anyway because it'll be home turf. I think Hangman wins. And I realise I'm probably going to be wrong, but I can't shake this feeling that Hangman Adam Page is going to win. So I'm going to predict it. So, in conclusion, I have Ricochet retaining the National Championship, Willow Nightingale beating Lena Cross, Boom and Doom defeating the Infantry, the Dogs winning the Trios Tornado match, Megan Bayne and Lena Cross winning the Women's World Tag Team Championship, Marina Shafir beating Timeless Toni Storm, the Don Callis family retaining the World Trios Championship, Tekla retaining the Women's World Championship, Swerve beating Brody, Andrade beating Bandido, Takeshita beating Mox, FTR beating the Bucks, and Hangman Adam Page defeating MJF in the Texas Death Match for the AEW Men's World Championship. Let me know why I'm wrong in the comments. Let me know why I'm right as well. I'm curious what people's thoughts are on this show. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe. I'm going to do a review of the show where we'll go back through my predictions. And see how wrong I was. So that'll be fun. And give my thoughts on the show as a whole and the matches and what have you. So yeah, subscribe for more. But for now, all I have left to say is thank you very much for watching. As always, I've been EBEZA. You've been amazing. And I'll see you next time.